I have some old papers here, which I think I'll borrow a piece of your desk if y'all don't mind for people to come get. Brooke, Lauren, Allie, just come on up and get these. Brooke again. John Fleetwood, Andrew Morgan, Annabelle. So if that's you, come get your paper. I know some people have been out on the days I hand back quizzes. Okay, great. And then let's see, I don't have other papers to hand back to you, but I do have to tell you a bunch of logistics stuff. So as usual, we're right here. We just finished the quiz. There's a new thing in the week, qualifiers. So starting this week, you'll be able to do qualifiers that will enable you to retake quizzes. Other than that, this week is exactly the same. And I want to talk to you about retake week, which you know is coming in week 9, but it's probably different than what your other classes are doing or what you may have experienced. So I want to make sure you understand it. Here's what is happening. Normally, in week 9, there would be a midterm. It would be a horrible and stressful experience in which you review everything and I test you on everything at once. And all your other classes are doing the same thing. And it counts for like half your grade or something, right? Like it's bad, okay? I mean, it's bad enough, right? Getting through this material, you don't need that experience. So I've devised this new way of doing midterms, and my new way of doing midterms is that instead of me giving you a huge test, you go back and identify the quizzes that you didn't do the best on, the weeks that you needed to learn a little better. That's the point, right? Is that you learn the stuff from each week. You go identify the weeks that you might need to do better on. You show up and show what you know, and your grade improves. It's a much more positive attitude towards what's going to happen, okay? But you should think of it like a midterm in terms of the seriousness that you should spend, because these retakes, the new grades will replace your old grades if they're higher. But after week 9, that's kind of now set in stone, right? Like you've done your retake and that's what your grade is, right? So you have hope right now, right, to improve your grade. But then after week 9, your hope is that you do better in the second half of the class, right? So these 2 weeks leading up to week 9 is when you fix any problems that you're having. You were out sick, you ignored this class because it was extraordinarily stressful, you had other things to do, whatever it is, okay, the next 2 weeks. I'm going to let you retake up to 5 previous quizzes. That's more than I would usually do, but I know that a lot of people were just out sick, no fault of their own. I want to encourage you to stay home when you're sick. So if you missed quizzes, then you can retake them here in week 9. You don't have to take 5 of them. You can take up to 5. What's going to happen, if you look back a slide, is notice how we just started with the week 6 quiz, but this is week 7. In week 9, we'll have to start with the week 8 quiz, right? Because we'll have just finished week 8. So there'll be the quiz from the previous week. And then there's time, like right now, for you to take 2 retakes. Okay, that's what will happen on that Monday. And then on the Wednesday, there's time for you to take up to 3 retakes. Okay, you can't take 5 on Wednesday. You can take 2 on Monday, and you can take 3 on Wednesday. Okay. And each one you have to qualify, and I'm going to explain what that means in a minute. But first, let me just tell you that a retake quiz is not just the same quiz over again or the same quiz with different numbers, because I picked 5 problems that were like your homework, were based on the homework and the reading. I might pick different problems, right? I mean, your homework and your reading had more than 5 things on it, right? So I'm not going to pick exactly the same problems for the next quiz. They might be a problem that wasn't asked on the first quiz that will be on the retake, but that's from that week, right? You're not retaking the quiz, even though it's called a retake quiz. You're retaking the week, right? So you can go back and learn that week. On the other hand, there might be some questions that are similar to the original quiz. I mean, I chose those problems for a reason, right? Those topics are important. They probably appear somewhere, right? If you missed your quiz, or you lost your quiz, or you were very angry and you rolled your quiz up in a ball and threw it in the gutter, right? Whatever it is, got another one for you. Okay, so you just take a blank one and you'll do your qualifier for the whole blank quiz, as if you got the whole thing wrong, right? You'll just do it for all of the problems because there's no answers. So the first thing I want to do is just take a second and think or look back at your records and think, do you have a copy of your quizzes from weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5? And if not, I have some blank ones here. Okay, so go ahead and take a minute. I'm going to distribute these around so that you can pick them up in a moment. All right, it's okay if you don't have it with you right now, and I will bring these to class every day. So right here in the room, I'll give you a chair back. Right now, this is where week 1 is. So if you're missing week 1, you can come up in just a second and get it. This is where copies of week 2 are. This is week 3. A lot of people need this one, so I tried to give it some more space. This is week 4, and I have week 5 up at the podium. So if you know a quiz you're missing, please feel free to come get it right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm so you missed all these?
No, it was easier for one person.
Oh,
to get across
okay.
the room. Let's get up here.
Oh my goodness. Okay, that's good. Uh-oh, what are you guys getting? What are you getting up to get? 3 right there. Anyone need 1 or 2?
I just need one.
Maybe 1. Oh, where's my? There's a 1? Okay. Okay. 2. Okay. I'll have these again on Wednesday.
So there's more than 2 questions.
Yes, that's an excellent point. I'm not sure what to do about that right now. I guess the retake of week 2, I have to think about that because week 2 was missing some questions. That's the one, right? I have to think about what to do about that because it still should be worth the same number of points. So maybe that will only be a 2-question quiz if you retake that one. So, but you send me an email if you want to have a question about that. I will consider that and say it tomorrow. Anyway, I'll bring these quizzes again on Wednesday. Here's how the qualifiers work. They're in Canvas already, but they're in the week 9 module, which I think I have successfully published so that you can see it. If that's not true, please let me know. Because what's going to happen is you're going to do your retake, your qualifier right on the copy of your old quiz or this blank copy. And then you're going to take a photo of the front and back of your quiz or a scan, and then you're going to upload that to this Canvas assignment. Okay. There's qualifier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In Canvas, you'll see 1 and 2, or if you intend to take the quiz on Monday, 3, 4, 5, or if you intend to take the retake on Wednesday. And what you'll do is you'll write your section number near your name, because that helps me when I print out the quiz that I'm going to give to you. I know where to send it. And then you're going to do quiz corrections. So first, you will explain why you answered what you did. Okay. Why did you answer the wrong thing? Right? What happened? What were you thinking? And maybe you're like, I don't know what I was possibly thinking here. You can write that. That's fine. But if you can figure out like what made you choose that wrong answer, then I want to know, and you'll put a circle around it. And then here's the really important part. The answer to your quiz problem is actually written on your quiz if you took it, because that's how I grade it, is I write out the answer and then I grade it so I don't get confused when I grade it. So you know the right answer, but I want to know why it's the right answer. Okay, so I want you to write out a full solution why it's the right answer and put a box around it. And that's what I'm going to check. Did you actually write out work clearly to show why that's the right answer? And if so, I will approve your qualifier, and then you will be able to take a retake. And if not, I won't approve it, and you won't get to take a retake. Yes. Yeah, just write it on the quiz. If your quiz is particularly full, then feel free to attach another piece of paper. That's okay. But most people should have room somewhere to do that. You know, you don't have to cross off your wrong answer. You have to leave it so I can see what you answered, right? Because you're going to tell me why you answered the wrong answer. And then you can explain to me why the key answer is the correct answer. And then the final thing, part 3, is at the end, somewhere on your quiz where there's still room, I want you to make a list of 3 problems from the homework that were not on the quiz, or 3 topics that were not on the quiz, but could conceivably be on the retake. I want to make sure you will realize that there's material outside of the quiz. So you'll think of 3 things, 3 topics or types of questions like, oh, you didn't ask us to find the domain of a function, but that totally could have been on this quiz. You know, whatever belongs to that week, write those 3 things, and then you'll put a puffy cloud around that. So what I'll be looking for is a circled and a squared answer for each wrong answer or missing answer, and a puffy cloud somewhere that has a list of 3 topics. And if I can find all that, then I will approve your qualifier. You'll submit this not on paper to me, but as a JPEG to Canvas, submit it as a scan. And if I approve it, you'll know right away. And it means that I've printed you a quiz and I'll have it ready on either the Monday or the Wednesday, depending on which one you did. Okay? All right. Does that make sense? Oh, these actually aren't due until midnight, the day before the quiz actually is, but you should not wait till then. So I will accept like a late night, oh my God, I forgot to qualify for quiz 3 thing. But you know, I can't even guarantee that I can grade them all in time and print the quizzes all in time if everybody can't submit at midnight the night before. So it's at your peril. Like, I'm willing to consider it right up until the end. But it's possible that that'll mean that somehow there's not time even to get through your quiz. Okay, do it. You should do it now. So like you should start this week to do your qualifiers. Yeah. No, you don't. So, but technically, you never have to come to class. But you know, there also won't be anything that you could earn a bonus point on if you did come to class. So that's a good question. Maybe you only have 2 to retake. You could do them both on Monday after your week 8 quiz. That's fine. Maybe you only have 1 to retake, but you don't want to take it at the same day as week 8. And so you're going to come at the beginning of Monday and the beginning of Wednesday. That's fine too. Whatever you need. Yeah. Oh, then you're going to have to figure out the right answer. So it's harder for you. But I thought about that. Like, should I put the right answers on the blanks? And then I thought I actually kind of liked if you don't know, because if you didn't take it at all, you have to review a little bit more for this quiz. So I apologize, and also congratulations if that is happening. Yeah. Both of those things. Any other questions about this? Okay. But like I said, I'm giving you a present. Okay, this is a gift that you can go back and fix things that didn't go right earlier. Right? I wish that all of life was like that. Okay, everyone should always have this gift, right? But what I'm saying about the gift is don't waste the gift. Okay, you have this week, you have next week to review those weeks, to do the qualifiers. You know, you make 1-sheets, right? Make a better 1-sheet this time for your quiz. Figure out what went wrong. Look at the homework again. Whatever it is you have to do well on that. Okay. And then you have basically till fall break. And then what happens is after fall break, the W deadline for the class is like the Wednesday of the next week. So you'll know when you come back from fall break, you'll have all your retakes back and you'll know whether you were able to make up for anything you were trying to make up for. And then there'll be a decision point there with that W deadline in the middle of that week. Okay. Okay, great. So I have this here open for questions if you have any. I will take a look at it. We don't have much to talk about. This week is not so bad. We now are learning to just calculate limits, different types of limits. Last week, we saw that if the function is continuous, you can just plug in and find a limit. But sometimes you have limits at infinity, infinite limits, funny situations. That's what we're starting to handle this week. And I think also next week. Okay. Oh no, maybe this might be the last week of it. Yeah, I think this is the last week. So for example, sometimes we have a limit as x goes to infinity of a power function. And there's two ways you can think about this. One is that you could just know the graph, right? I'm asking what happens to the heights as the x goes to infinity. We'll just look at the graph, right? Is the graph increasing without bound? Then the answer is infinity. Is the graph settling down to 0? Well, then the answer is 0. Okay. And in a minute, I think on the very next slide, we'll talk about how you can also do this algebraically. Like, for example, as x goes to infinity, you have 1 over something huge. That's like 0. 1 over infinity is like 0. And 1 over 0 is actually like infinity, as we talked about before. So this can get more complicated. You'll see all these theorems in the book. But honestly, what I just said, that little sentence that 1 over 0 is like infinity and 1 over infinity is like 0, that's this. And that's basically what this is saying, just to saying it more precisely, that there's only one thing extra here, is that the bottom can approach 0 and be positive, or the bottom can approach 0 while being negative. And that's two separate situations. So we'll start going over these in more detail over the course of the week. Now this theorem right here is really important, and most of the first 5 questions on your homework are about whether limit forms are indeterminate or not. We're going to do an example as a class in a minute, but I just want to set the stage here. Indeterminate means we don't know. Okay, like 0 over 0. Remember how bad that was? We just don't know. That's called indeterminate. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Ha. Well, it's not okay. Look what the answer is. The answer is infinite. That's terrible, right? It's only just a little bit terrible, though, right? Like, so 1 over 0 is terrible, but it's just infinity. I mean, it's really not that bad. It's just really big, right? That's all. It's just not a number anymore. It's infinite, right? That's when you do math, there's like levels of badness, right? So up till now, 1 over 0 is maybe the worst badness that you thought about. And that badness is infinite. But honestly, that's not so bad. We know what that is. But 0 over 0, that's a serious problem. We don't even know what it is. So notice here, these forms always end up going to 0. And these forms always end up going to infinity. Like if you have a quantity that's growing very large and you add to it another quantity that's growing very large, the whole thing is getting large, right? These things are fairly sensible. Some of them are harder to parse, like this one. If you have a fraction, then when the top gets bigger, what happens to the whole fraction? It also gets bigger, right? When the denominator of a fraction gets smaller and smaller, what happens to the fraction? The whole fraction, if the denominator gets bigger, smaller, right? Like 1 over 0.00001. That whole fraction gets bigger. Both of these things are making the fraction get big. There's no fight here. This fraction is getting big. I think I have one more. No, I don't have a slide yet. I'm going to do an exercise first with you guys, and then I have a slide about the ones we don't know. These are the ones we do know. They are non-indeterminate. I don't know why we don't call these determinate, but we don't. We call them non-indeterminate. They're not unknown. Not unknown. Okay. So let's do some. Here's a handout. If you don't mind, please send that back. This one for you. And Just the first three. Talk with your group and see if you can do the first three.
That's the second one.
The square root of no,
Yeah, it's like, what is it?
Okay, because we're getting close to the end of the class, I want to show you these three pieces of algebra here. Each one corresponds to something that's on the board. So that might help you, these pieces of algebra, as you're working, and then we'll finish in a minute when I show you what the answers are. But this algebra might help. Okay, let me show you the answer. I don't want to rush through these, but I didn't want to leave you without showing the answer. We'll pick up with this worksheet again on Wednesday, so don't get rid of it. We'll pick it up again on Wednesday, and we'll start with these answers. But I wanted to show you, just in case you were working on it, on all these three, what you got. You can take a picture. It's also in the slides, right? You can look in the slides. But I'm going to pick up with this at the start of class on Wednesday. We'll start with this same little worksheet and talk about how to compute these limits. Okay? Have a good day, everybody. See you Wednesday.